Judge Stoudt, thank you for being here with me today.
Sure.
Your reaction to the approval of the budget for this year?
Well, every year it's always gratifying to finally get the budget complete. It's a year-long process that we deal with. We talk to department heads. We negotiate. We have disagreements, and at the end of the day, we come together and approve a budget that we think that serves the citizens well of Gregg County for the next upcoming year.
What do you think are the biggest takeaways from the budget?
Well, as I mentioned, as you heard me mention in court today, after we approved it, a couple of things I think that are very important is that all the purchases you heard me mention were in the millions. We paid cash for it. We didn't borrow any money. The parking facility came $1.5 million under budget, which was some more good news to the budget. But all those things are going to change if the legislature does what it's going to do, which is going to drop the revenue rate from 3.5 to 2.5. That's going to decrease the amount of funds that will be available for counties to operate their county governments and city governments next year.
Talk to me about this bill, and talk to me about what you mean by revenue rate.
Well, it's a part of last year it was 3.5. When I came into office, it was 8%. 8% is
what was 8%?
It's 8% of the revenue that's generated from property tax and sales tax and everything together. Okay, it's divided by 100 value. It's over the years the legislature's dropped it to 3.5, which obviously, when you drop the revenue rate by 66%, it's going to have an effect on the amount of revenue that you have to work with. Now they're talking about dropping it to 2.5, which is going to drop the revenue we have to work with even lower. So a lot of the things we did this year in the budget was to pay cash for everything we did and not borrow any money. So going into next year's budget, we already anticipate less revenue. That anything and everything we wanted to get done in this year's budget.
Any projects in particular next year you feel this will really impact?
No, because the projects we've already got planned and 4 have already been budgeted in last year's budget and will carry forward in this year's budget. So hopefully unless construction costs go out of sight, which I think they're kind of calming down, we think that they'll come in around budget at what we got the money set aside for.
And just to be clear, we're talking about a decrease from 3.5% of revenue
to 2.5.
To 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
What would it sounds like you don't agree with this decision.
No, I don't.
What would your message be to the state legislature about this?
Well, number one is, I think the state's intentions are to control the values that are taking place in the bigger cities. And the unfortunate part, rural counties get thrown into it. And rural counties don't have the values to continue to absorb the cutting of the revenue rate. Big cities do. They're much, much bigger. The numbers are much, much bigger. The values are much, much bigger. In rural areas, we don't have that value, but we're getting our percentage cut on an equal basis to the big cities. So when it affects the smaller cities, because we have less tax base, so when you reduce the revenue rate, you reduce the amount of revenue that's available for us to do things in our county and or city.
I do want to ask, could you see this having a negative impact even on those bigger cities?
Oh, it's going to affect
Houston,
them. Sure.
Dallas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll affect them. It will affect them. And my fear is that leadership in Austin will think it's not affecting them enough, so they want to drop it some more. I mean, there's just so much, and you get to zero. Then you get to zero, and there's legislators right now talking about an alternative way to generate revenue for cities and counties. The thing that upsets me, we already provide a number of unfunded mandates from the state right now that are not funded by the state. We fund them as a county. And now they're reducing that revenue even more in terms of the revenue we'll have to use to work with. So as I said in the court, we'll find a way to deal with it. We will. We'll cut back. We'll not do the things that we've done in the past. We will have to do that. The raises won't be as current as they've been, and that's the reason I made the statements in this year's budget. Is next year's budget is going to be a lot different than this year.
If you could set the revenue rate at a specific rate, what would you want it to be? How could you feel that would impact the state's budget? And the reason I ask that is because there's a lot of discussion every 2 years about balancing the budget here in Texas, and we currently are projected to have a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
So
in the billions. That's not the way it's going to be. It's not going to be the case in rural county government and city government. We're not going to have those kind of revenue overages and that kind of money sitting in reserves, because we won't have that kind of revenue resource because the state's slowly chopping it away.
what rate would you like to see it put at?
Well, it really doesn't matter what I think. The legislature, the Senate and the House have both gone down a path, and very little input has been given in terms of county judges and what we think. So it's really kind of immaterial what I think. The state is going to do what the state's going to do.
Could you see yourself going to Austin and testify for this?
The bill's already passed,
So you would.
and the county judges that did weren't treated with. It's not necessary now. I've been down there and testified in front of the House and the Senate before on different matters, and quite frankly, they're not interested in what local elected officials have to say. They don't want to hear it.
You don't think so?
No.
Why? Because
I personally believe Austin wants to control cities and counties from Austin, and that's just my feeling. And the things that they're doing are showing that.
one more thing I want to ask you: the sheriff's budget. What are the biggest takeaways from that? I heard there were going to be some increases for
There is.
jailers and
Correct.
deputies.
Right.
Talk to me a bit
Well,
about that.
and that's one of the good things about the state. What the state's done, the state has allocated some money for law enforcement, which everybody's all for law enforcement, and having additional funds for that. And we have been on a 3-year program to increase the salaries of our law enforcement personnel over the last 3 years, and the state government has stepped up in that particular arena and offered us a $500,000 grant every year to offset the cost, and we appreciate that. But it just helps offset it. It doesn't take care of it. We still have to continue to put money into it.
Anything else from today's commissioner's report you would like to add?
No, I'm just very pleased the budget was passed. I think it's a good budget. We were going to get a lot of things done this year that we're not going to be able to do next year because of what the legislature is going to do.